Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary, Alec Krauthamel. And if you are coming in from the Xavier Stern pod, we are going to talk about the Tyrell Simpson commitment. This is commitment number 3 on the weekend. This is the offensive tackle who is listed at 6'8", 310 pounds out of North Brunswick High School, not in North Brunswick, New Jersey, in Leland, North Carolina. This is a 5.7 3-star. This kid is just a mountain of a man. Rich, what is Rutgers getting in Tyrell Simpson?
You said it. Mountain of a man is right. I know we have him 6'7". He told me he's 6'8" now. I was like, okay, this is just – we're going to keep going. You want to go 6'9", 6'10"? That's just going to be a massive offensive tackle. I had people ask me and say, like, on the boards, like, hey, is he going to be an offensive guard? Because a lot of his tape's at right guard, which mind-boggling, number one, because, like, it just doesn't make sense to me because he looks athletic enough that he can play tackle. So why is he not a tackle?
Mm-hmm.
Plus the guy next to him is significantly smaller. It's just like, okay, he's athletic enough. He has the build. He has the wingspan. I don't want to knock the coaching staff down there because they're winning games, but it's like, what are you doing? Either way, he is massive. I do think he's pretty raw. He's got to learn a lot of things. I think he has to bend a little more. I think he needs to kind of understand more hand placement. It seems like he's not really underneath guys. He's basically just shoving the dude in front of him, which when you're 6'8", 310, you can get away with that. And that's where a guy like Pat Flaherty comes in. He'll teach you technique. This is a developmental prospect. Like this guy, a guy that's going to take at least 2 years, if not 3 years. And that's what most offensive linemen are. It's almost a guessing game. And that's why a lot of schools just take guys based on size. And I don't want to say that's kind of what the case is here because he does have some tools that you can work with. He looks pretty athletic. And I feel like if you could teach him that technique and teach him how to bend a little more, that's really the game changer right there. That's why he's a 5.7 3-star, not a 5.5 like average 3-star recruit. This is the upside's there. You just have to teach it to him. And if they could do that and unlock him, sky's the limit for this kid. It could be, I don't want to say an Holland Pierce like because Holland Pierce was just a different dude in general. Holland Pierce came in at 400 pounds. This kid's coming in at 300. So he's actually like in better shape from the start. So I do think the potential's there for him to be like a multi-year starter if he can put it all together.
Alec, what stood out to you on his tape about the way he plays?
Well, obviously his size at 6'8", you are right. Like when you're looking at the rest of the guys in the offensive line that he plays with, he like significantly dwarfs them, which you don't see a lot of 6'8" offensive linemen. I did notice though in some of the highlights they run a lot of like pulling blockers and things like that. So maybe they just want to get him into space as much as possible in the run game and just let him, run straight over people, which he does a lot. Kind of like we talked about with the with our last offensive line when we were talking about Tyler Doole, it's like you can't have enough offensive linemen in this day and age, especially considering how much they can cost in the portal or how hard they are to develop at the college level. And Pat Flaherty's a guy where if he sees something in a kid and all they need to do is just give their all and he'll do whatever it takes to work with them. And yeah, these are the types of flyers that I think could really work out well for Rutgers, where you have a guy who just needs to, he has all the physical tools. It's just some of the technique and the finer refining things, playing an offensive line that could use a little bit of help. And that's exactly where Flaherty kind of steps in. So, it's another really solid offensive line addition when it comes to just, obviously getting as much size as possible. I have a feeling this guy's probably going to be very strong in the run game, at least kind of like Holland Pierce. Not to compare him again, but Pierce was always a great run blocker because, obviously his size, but Pierce also moved pretty well as well. And this guy does as well. So, pretty exciting addition. Rutgers, they've gone after a bunch of offensive linemen. Looking at our timeline, at this point, he is because they already had Doole, they already had Jared Smith, they had Cam Green and Donovan Johnson. So I think he's their 5th offensive lineman, I think, to this point in the timeline. Either way, there's a lot. Yeah. They're taking a lot of different guys with a lot of different sizes and skill sets as well. So they're kind of diversifying what they're going after to see if they can, make something out of a lot of these guys. And like I said, when we were talking about Tyler Doole, it's like when you lose a bunch of guys in the portal, you need to have depth, even if there's a very low probability that all of these guys turned into standout starters, but sometimes you just need depth at the offensive line. So whether it's Tyrell Simpson, whether it's Tyler Doole or Jared Smith or anyone like that, as long as they have depth at those positions on the offensive line, consider that maybe not a big win, but consider that you have depth. And we saw how badly Rutgers struggled, maybe not at offensive line, but at other positions when they didn't have that depth. Although even at offensive line, when Brian Felter went down, it took a little bit for them to get back going. It took them a little bit to develop some of that depth, but once it did, it started to the offense started to look a lot better. So you can never have too many offensive linemen. You can never take too many offensive linemen to try to develop.
Yeah, I don't think it's any surprise, given how last year went, that Rutgers got double servings on offensive linemen in the portal, which is something that we talked about. The whole party metaphor of if you're having a group of 10 friends over, are you just gonna buy 10 hot dogs and 10 beers? No, you want to have enough in case somebody brings their new girlfriend, in case somebody's extra hungry, hasn't eaten all day, blah blah blah.
Fucking stories people love.
These are the stories people come for. And the same thing with the tight end, with the line class in 2026. This is a big commit too, in another way, where he's starting to explode with the offers. In March he got offers from Florida, Virginia Tech, Rutgers. As we move through the timeline, he got offers from a lot of power fours. He had visits scheduled. Like Rich said, you want to get them to commit while they're on the campus, because he was going to Virginia Tech. He was scheduled to go to Virginia Tech next weekend. Weekend after that, he was scheduled to go to Liberty. Weekend after that, scheduled to go to Kentucky. Those are obviously off now. And Rutgers has wrapped him up. This was an ascending prospect who a lot of programs saw as a very attractive ball of clay that they could mold into a potential stud offensive lineman. So pretty excited with this. I know the staff is very high on him. So big time addition. And is there anything else about him that you guys want to know?
I actually have one other thing. I mean, there aren't too many guys on campus this weekend having a better weekend. Well, Greg Schiano, of course, because he's obviously the head coach, and all these guys are coming in. Which also his birthday on Sunday, so happy birthday to Coach Schiano. But also Scott Vallone, he's been doing really well on the recruiting trail. We know his relationships in North Carolina have been really strong. He's been doing a lot of work in kind of that southeast area. A lot of these guys that Rutgers is getting, Scott Vallone's right there is the name that pops up in the recruited by section, or even if you talk to them, you say we talked to Scott Vallone, had a great relationship going. So I think Vallone has done a lot of really good work this weekend. He's becoming one of the better recruiters on staff. I think at the very least on the offensive staff, one of the best recruiters. Him and Demir Shaw probably. But yeah, he's had a really great weekend in recruiting and bringing guys in, going after guys. So big props to Scott Vallone, and we'll see if it continues.
Yeah, I got a couple things actually about Scott Vallone in general. Like, I need to reiterate this because we say it every time. People are like, what's the connection there? And like, Scott Vallone literally just built his own connection there. He built it from scratch. He just showed up a bunch of times to schools and just said, hey, like, I'm the guy. I'm the Rutgers guy. Like, hey, what's going on? And I feel like we're at the point where you also have to say this is future offensive line coach Scott Vallone, right? Like, he's got to be like the O-line coach in waiting. Like, he's worked with the O-line with Flaherty before he got the tight ends job. And I feel like hopefully he stays long enough that, because Pat's not retiring anytime soon, it seems like. So hopefully he stays around long enough for Rutgers that he could just fit in when Pat's ready to call it quits. But he just seems like he's just done amazing work down in North Carolina. Like, he's built these relationships from scratch. He's been able to build these bonds with kids. And he's able to kind of reiterate Pat Flaherty's message saying, like, hey, I've already been in that room. I know what he wants. I know what he wants to do with that, with you as a player. So it's an easy selling point from that aspect. But, I mean, it's just on top of it all, he's an interesting kid. Like, he's got college football bloodlines too. Like, his brother played linebacker / defensive, signed as a linebacker, ended up at defensive end at Duke. His dad played defensive end at Maryland. So, like, there's a lot of ties there. And then on top of it all, he's super fucking athletic. Kid plays basketball where he's really athletic down low, playing that center position. He also does the shot put, the discus, even does the 200-meter dash, which I'm like,
really? You're
a big boy for that. I'm sure you want to do this.
That's crazy.
But he ran a 29.97 for the 200-meter. Also does the indoor 300-meter and 500-meter, which I don't know how those translate because I'm not smart. I know like the 100-meter dash translations. I don't know about the 200-meter. But if you're running a 29 in a 200-meter at 3:10, 6'8", I'm like, seems pretty fucking impressive. I don't know if I could run that.
Yeah, If I were a rival linebacker in the North Carolina area, not someone I would want to match up with.
Yeah.
Just getting out of like algebra class and I see this guy running at me.
It's like, what the fuck?
Questioning a lot of choices.
Yep, love this commit. We'll talk about the 6th offensive line commitment in the next pod with Logan Anthony out of Pennsylvania. But for this pod, we are going to call it. We'll see you guys on the other side of the podcast feed.